What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can make your very first game, what to do once it's finished, and one secret that all new game devs learn when they're finishing their first game. So stick around for that. The first step that you need to take before you start making your first game is you need to skill up. The perfect way to do this, especially if you're new, is start looking at tutorials. It sounds straightforward, I know that, but you'd be surprised. There are a lot of cases of new developers that have no idea what they're doing and they open up an engine and don't know where to go. There's too many options and too many things for them to learn and figure out. First thing you need to do is you need to find yourself a tutorial that is within the engine that you're going to be using, that's in the same genre, that has relatively the same features, and then follow along. But don't just imitate the person who's running the tutorial. Try to really understand the mindset that's going on within that developer's head and how they come to the solutions that they come to. What you want to do while you're in the skilling up section is focus on 1 to 2 core skill sets that you don't have, that you want to improve. If you're making a game in a small team or on your own, you're going to have to wear many hats and do many things. It's best to have a broad knowledge of a lot of things at this stage, so then you can develop them and find out what you're really good at. Once you've taken the time and you've done these tutorials, it's time for step number 2, and that is, whatever your idea is, it's time to decimate the scope. What a new or junior dev should be doing is they should be taking their concept, their dream, their idea of their first game, lay it all out, and these are the features that I want, and these are the minor features of what it looks like, and then they're going to cut most of that out and focus on only one specific feature. It sounds like blasphemy, I know, and it's not what you want to hear, but now that you've skilled up, you understand what it takes to create simple features and simple user interface, or even to build a game if you took it that far. What you need to do is you need to find what is core to your game and what is the experience you're trying to create for the players. What you should do is you should take that core feature and build that out, and that is your game. Your game should be no longer than a 2-hour experience. This will all make sense when I tell you what new game devs learn once they're finishing their first game. Okay, once you've done the heartbreaking thing and you've decimated your game, it's time to actually document your design. Now, design documents, especially for smaller games, may seem unnecessary, but it's a highly valuable step and it's a very good skill which you should learn. First, you need to structure your design into main categories. For example, gameplay, user interface, menus. If you're talking about network code, you're not getting the idea. Cut that out. Whatever your main idea is, it's got to be simple. Once you've done that, you're going to take those categories and you're going to break them up into smaller, more manageable pieces of work. For example, with gameplay, it might be move character, character shoot, character jump, character die, character fall, whatever it happens to be. You list all of these out for all of your individual categories. Once you do that, you assign timelines to these things based on what your skill level is and what your knowledge is. If something is going to take you 2 hours or what you think is going to take 2 hours, you're going to put down 3 because without a doubt there are going to be delays. There are always bugs and there are always issues, especially with your first game. There's always a million ways you could have done something better. What you need to focus on at this stage is not to refactor and redo your code or scrap the game and start again. Just get it working, even if it doesn't look as pretty as you'd like, even if it doesn't function as well as it should. Now that you've got all your categories and you've got all your tasks listed out, especially with times associated with them, you can actually measure your progress, and what gets measured gets done. So now onto step number 4, and that is start. Start your game. You, Mr. or Mrs. Developer, need to make a commitment to yourself. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to do the work, and actually do the work. Set aside 2 to 8 hours per session that you sit down to work on your game. Each session that you go to work on your game should be dedicated to a few key pieces or key tasks which you have allocated for yourself. Inevitably, they're going to take some time. You might have to go back and look at some more tutorials because you don't know everything yet. That being said, try to finish these tasks and finish them well. And once they're done to an acceptable level, file them, put them away, and work on the next thing. The first thing you need to do though is you need to make a prototype of whatever your core mechanic is, and then you're going to build the rest of your game around that. Now, with a bigger game, I wouldn't recommend this, but for your first game, it is small. This is recommended by many developers because your game isn't fully featured yet. For your first game, you're not likely to need data structures, you're not likely to need 3D animations. All of these things take a lot of time and they're not worth spending, especially for a game with the scope that you've set, which is between 10 minutes to 2 hours. So understand what your core game loop is going to be, you build that until it is acceptable, and then you start adding user interface and you put menus in front of it and you add polish and you make things look a bit better. If you've done some other research and you're following a software development structure, then by the alpha stage, you need to follow step number 5 and you need to learn how to market your game. Now, this might seem like a scary step, and it can be, especially when you're not so confident in yourself and your abilities. But understand that people don't see what you don't show them. At the alpha stage is when you're going to start marketing your game, and your game's not going to look very complete at this stage. There's going to be incomplete animations, the gameplay is not going to look right, there's going to be bugs, things are going to fall through the floor, all of that. What you should be doing is you need to show what works, what's interesting, what's engaging, and what your target audience is likely to really enjoy and really connect with. Now, there is a number of ways to engage with people, and this isn't a marketing video, I am going to do a video on that. But if you have no budget, there's a lot of things that you can do which are free. Social media is your go-to. You can start building yourself an audience even with a relatively small game. Create a Discord channel. Start ferrying people to there. That's a hub for you and all of your games and a community to communicate with each other. Makes sense, right? Start pulling people in. Get on Twitter. Get on LinkedIn. Use Facebook. Whatever your marketing channel is going to be, create yourself accounts and start promoting your content. But don't just blast people with your content because people aren't going to respond to that. You need to add value. And by adding value, I mean pose questions to them, talk with the community, engage with other people. Marketing at this very early level is going to be one-to-one communication. Get people invested in your game, in your story, and while you're getting this exposure and you're talking with people, your game is going to be advertised. You are going to be advertised. Your dream, everything is going to be on show, and it seems scary, but this is how developers create a reputation for themselves, and this is how they sell their games. Most developers finish their games and then they think to themselves, okay, time to start marketing, and it's way too late at that stage. You either sit on your game and start marketing it, or you release it and you start a new one, and then you start marketing it at the right time. And the good thing is, once you start building a community, it's not going to go anywhere. For your next game, there's already an established community there, and you're just going to grow it and grow it and grow it, and it's going to be easier and easier and easier to sell your games and actually make some money from it. So if you're following this advice and you start marketing your game early, just remember, you're developing, you're improving things all the time. So as things improve, post about it, talk about what the challenges were and what you did. People are going to connect with that. They like that. Game development's not just about the game, it's about the journey and the people actually making those games. And the sixth step, while it sounds very simple to do, is finish your game. Sounds difficult. You think you've done all the tasks on your list, but you look at it and it just doesn't feel right. What that is called polish. You need to dig in and drive yourself to really polish those games and really make it look and feel complete. You need to do this even if you aren't happy with the game. This is a game that is at 90% completion, as if you just abandon it now. At this stage, you are testing it often, not with just yourself, but with people around you. You need to have people who are aware of what you're doing, whether it's people online or friends or your family, whoever it happens to be. Make sure that you are testing the game and that they're giving you unbiased feedback. Now, people close to you are going to give you biased feedback, but question them in such a way that they give you honest, hard, detailed feedback, that you can actually take that feedback and apply to fixing and polishing your game. For an example, polish can feel like the character's movement speed or the score or the pace, the feeling that the player feels, whatever it is. Make sure that you're constantly iterating in this stage and polishing that and bug fixing while you're doing it as well. Once you've gotten to a stage where you've squashed all of the major bugs and you've managed to address and deal with all of the big pieces of feedback that you've gotten from your testers, it's now actually time to build the game. Once you've actually built the game, you don't touch it anymore. It's done. It hurts when you see things after the fact, but you know what? Like I said, this is your first game, and it's going to seem strange not to touch it again, but it's all related to that secret I'm promising you at the end of the video. So you finished your game. What do you do now? Step number 7 is that you release your game. Now, releasing a game is different from every game that you're ever going to make. Whether it belongs on Steam, if it's on itch, if it's on a portfolio, if it's on a personal website, or if it's on Epic Store, or GOG, whatever it happens to be, you release your game. Now, releasing your game can be a long and complicated process depending on the platform that you go with. So don't plan a release party the week after you finish developing, because it's probably going to take a little bit longer than that to get your game up in a store. Also, while you're doing this, your entire audience should be aware of the fact that you finished your game and then it's going to be available soon. These are your advocates, and these are the people that you need to drive to the storefront or to your portfolio, whatever it happens to be. Okay, secret time. Your first game is not going to make any money. It's not going to look the way you envision. It's not going to play right. It's probably going to suck. But that's okay. Be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. If you finished a game and you've released it, I'm proud of you. Not every developer gets to this stage. What you're doing is you're practicing a hard skill, which is finishing everything that you start, or finishing what is worth finishing. Now that you've finished a game and you've leveled up your skills in this first game, guess what? It's time to do it all over again. But this time, you can add a bit more. Add some of those features that you really wanted to add in your first game. Come up with a new concept and have your core feature, but also 1 or 2 accompanying features, which is really going to help build out that game. Because now that you've built up the skill of problem solving and implementing features and polishing a game and finishing a game, you can actually put more into your next game within the same amount of time and then release again. And then you do this again for the next game, and then again for the next game, and again for the next game. And you're going to do this until you have yourself a fully featured, well-rounded, polished, engaging, entertaining game. Then and only then, you might make some money. But even if you don't, you'll still be a successful developer. Devs, I want to remind you to please subscribe and like the video if you got some value out of this, and be sure to share it with somebody that actually could use this video and use this advice. And in the comment section below, please tell me about your experience building your first game and releasing your first game. How did that all go for you? And if you guys are just starting out, send me links to your social medias. Let's connect. Let's all follow each other and let's help each other to be successful. It's all about building bigger and better and more games, and we can do that better as a community. In the next video, I'm going to tell you guys not to quit your job until you've hit these key milestones as a game developer. So stick around for that one.